I don't know what you heard about me. You see, you can't get a dollar out of me. No Cadillac, no furs you can't see. That I'm a big fat GIMP. Gimp, wimp, gimp, pimp. I don't actually know how that goes at all, but I would just like to apologise, first of all, before we go any further, to anyone who was affected by my mentioning of Chesterfield or the Anglo-Scottish Cup in the last podcast that we put out. There will be a helpline number going up at the end of this podcast. How you doing, folks? This is your fat ache. Oh my God, I hate international football because I'm just that staunch. Well, if that's the case, I've now got 3 games consecutively coming up at Ibrox that are in the Premiership, then the League Cup, then the Europa League. It's all club football, so I really don't want to hear any moans about that, because if you do moan about any of these games coming up at Ibrox, it'll make me think that last weekend you were really just professing to love Rangers as a way of telling me how much you actually hate the Scotland national team. It's no the same as the SNP. It's no the SNP. And if you do moan over the next couple of weeks, it might make me think that that's the only reason you get enthusiastic about something, is to let us know how much you hate something else. For example, the only reason you're suddenly treating Nico Raskin like he's some kind of betrayed, innocent wee martyr, and no a wannabe superstar, a kind of stroppy wee Wayne, is because you wanted to let us know how much you hate Russell Martin, and you think Nico Raskin hates Russell Martin too. Hearts at Ibrox preview pod coming to you in association with Gersnet. Check out Gersnet tonight, 9 p.m. live on the Gersnet YouTube channel. If you're watching this after 9 p.m. on Friday, the 12th of September 2025, then it will still be on the Gersnet YouTube channel and also available across all other respectable podcast providers, respectable streaming services. It's going to be Craig hosting Colin, so that'll be great. Get on to that. They have got plenty to talk about. I'm sponsored by Gersnet, and I'm also sponsored by Two Boiled Eggs. Too soft boiled. It's preferably soft. Maybe no runny. I don't like it runny. Knowing that the white is runny, but I do like the kind of yolk to be soft as well. I'll just do it for the 2 minutes. Once I'll bring it to the boil and then boil it through for 2 minutes tops, and that's. I mean, Iron Man can do anything with his metal suit and that kind of metal heart thing that he's got, the kind of heart, mechanical heart thing that he's got, and look, werewolves and vampires, they got on better after the sun goes down, in the dark, or full moons and stuff like that. But the new kind of Marvel or Hammer House of Horrors superhero or anti-hero is old middle-aged fat guy. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it a tub of lard with specs on? No. Is it a big fleshy egg wearing clothes? No, it's middle-aged fat guy. He needs 2 mugs of Tetleys, caffeinated Tetleys, 2 mugs of Tetleys, maybe. I like the Maltese. I do like the Maltese, the malt things that are kind of like wee crocheted bits of cereal if I've been drinking the night before. But if I've not been drinking the night before, I'll actually have your muesli with a cut up banana in it. It's one of my concessions to basic fitness. But if I've been drinking the night before, I'm going to have a wee kind of Wayne's type of cereal next to it, but that's basically just sugar. So 2 mugs of Tetley's, whatever cereal is appropriate, and 2 large boiled eggs. I get them. I say just bring them to the boil. Some folk wait till the water's boiling before they put them in, but then they're in for ages. I like to just bring them to the boil, 2 minutes, and I prefer to have them. I'll just chuck them in. It's actually a cup, a kind of Union Jack. Run about it. I got for Buckingham Palace. It was a present for somebody, but I'll use that. I'll try to take the shell off them and just chuck the two, naked eggs, if you like, into the cup. I don't, but sometimes that's a bit of a waste of time. If you do that thing, you don't get it right, and the eggs, the shell's sealed, stuck to the end of the time. Try to pull the shell off, it takes off half the egg white as well, and it's just an absolute nightmare. So sometimes you just got to kind of suss it out straight away, and maybe just do the old thing, you just take the head off it, with a knife, and have it in a sauce. Anyway, two boiled eggs. That's me. I'm ready to take on the world. That's the whole point. I have that. See, if I have 2 boiled eggs, I am ready to go. That's me set up for the day. I can take on the world, or at least I can get out of the shower and maybe put my clothes on before I sit in the laptop all day on the sofa. And I think Rangers are much the same. It's they don't 2 boiled eggs. You can't get 2 points for a game of football, but I think they need 3 points really. They go one more than the 2 boiled eggs. I have been known to have three, but I don't want to ruin eggs for me, because I basically have them, every day of the week couple of boiled eggs in the morning. Rangers have been they've been cutting down. They've been just having one of their points, league points in the 4 league games so far this season. So they're quite entitled to just catch up with themselves. They've been dieting. You can go for 3. I put a bit of pepper on mine as well, and before I tuck into them in the wee kind of Union Jack wrapped mug, Rangers could be doing the same. Hard boiled, soft boiled. Don't really care how they do it. They need to be getting themselves 3 points against the Jambos tomorrow. My name is Alec Anderson. Hey Joe, where are you going with that number 6 jersey in your hand? Hey Joe Rothwell, where are you going with that number 6 jersey in your hand? I'm going down to replace Nico Raskin. You know, I heard he's been caught messing around with agents and other clubs. Yeah, I'm going down to replace Nico Raskin. I heard he's been caught messing around with other clubs and undermining the head coach in the dressing room in front of other players. Yeah. I said, hey, Joe, I don't think you really managed to replace Nico Raskin, did you? Because the irony is, hey, Joe, you're just like Nico Raskin, you're actually more of an 8 than you're a 6, but you're a bit older, and you've not played this much football under this much intensity, really. You're not been at maximum fitness, so I don't think it's really. Yes, I did. I didn't really manage to replace him, but he's definitely been caught messing around with other clubs. Yes, I did. I tried, but failed to replace Nico Raskin, but he's definitely been caught messing around with other clubs. FC Copenhagen, Wolves. And I was going to do a whole thing about, way down south, I'll be free, ain't no one going to find me, and he's go back down south to Southampton, because he's played for Southampton before. That's how Russell Martin knows him. I'm going way down south, where I can actually get started in a derby match that's live on Sky on a Sunday. They're playing Portsmouth Pompey this weekend. That might be something that the imaginary Joe Rothwell would say. How you doing, folks? My name is I just think obviously you wouldn't be able to tell from my rendition, but you're thinking I don't do Jimi Hendrix, I don't do the guitar stuff. I always end up doing like Mitch Mitchell on the drums. I'm as clueless about playing drums as I'm about playing the guitar, or I'll do Noel Redding on the bass guitar. But they ended up, Mitch Mitchell, Chaz Chandler, that kind of alliterative thing. Chaz Chandler was the manager, and I think he completely shafted them, didn't he? Because they ended up with no money. And they had to, Jimi Hendrix died young, but they two boys didn't die as young as Jimi Hendrix, but, the experience. But they ended up basically having to walk themselves into an early grave. A bit of drinking and drugs probably involved as well, because they're proper rock stars. But I know Redding was playing in a pub in Ireland every Friday night for about 20 years or something like that, just to try and make ends meet. And that's my kind of subtle way of saying this. My name is Alec Anderson. I'm here to preview Rangers playing Hearts at Ibrox tomorrow, which is, having the last time Rangers played, we were kind of, oh my God, if Celtic score early, we're going to trash the joint FC. And tomorrow it's, oh my God, I can't believe that Russell Martin hasn't picked Nico Raskin, FC Rovers or whatever we're going to be. That's the main thing, is we don't get to concentrate really on the opposition in the game itself. There's always some sort of furore in the background, and that's as should be when we're trying to kind of rip shit up and start again. But the other wee thing that has to really be said, you might have noticed when you come onto this podcast, if you've bothered to come onto it at all, and if you have, I'm as grateful as always, is that I've monetized the pod. I've started putting adverts on it and stuff. I don't know how it works, but I'm trying to. I've missed you. When was the last time I spoke to you? I left with a 2-hour podcast the last time. Some folk weren't happy with that, and that's far too long. But the idea of that is, eventually I will break up. A few days later, I break it up into little segments. But you don't even need me to do that. You can just dip in and out if you want. It's like I'm going to be leaving you because it's been so intense all summer. July, August, right up to the end of August, into the autumn, the transfer window, the stuff that's been going on, the furore's justified or otherwise around about Rangers for the last few months. It's pod after pod. It's been far too long. We hit hour-long pods as a short pod, and I'll be lucky if I manage to get it under an hour tonight, because we'll get yet another furore, which I don't really see why it is a furore. It just seems all perfectly normal from my experience of watching football for 48 years. A player is a bit out of line. He needs to get, sorted out, or else the manager loses all authority. But anyway, the whole point, I left you a big long pod, just to try to cover everything at the end of the transfer window, and we'd go away. You needed a break from me because my pods have been too long. It's been too intense. We needed to go away, and I went up to Oban for a couple of nights. That was nice, just to get away. We just needed a break for each other. So I made it a really long pod, but I've missed you. That's been 11 days since I last spoke to you. No, it's 9. My arithmetic doesn't get any better. But what I have noticed is it's most of you get in touch and just saying, "Oh, I loved it, but that's great, mate. Love it," and then picking me up on the things that I was saying and having a wee conversation. And it's a community. I've been saying this for a while now. We've got a wee community here. You guys get me. I get you. It's nice to know that there's people out there who feel the same way about life as myself. Not all of you are Rangers supporters. Not all of you see eye to eye with me on how we support Rangers, if you're a Rangers supporter. But it's just nice to know. But most of us kind of have the same idea about life and football and stuff like that. And the minute I started thinking, yeah, this is lovely. We've got a real proper community going here. I thought I need to monetise this. I need to rip the absolute piss out of this and get money out of these mugs. And that's what I'm intending to do here. I just thought I'd tell you that I'm trying to do that. The pod's been up for about 2 years, and what folk usually say, I've been watching other podcasts, football podcasts myself, and they'll say, well, smash that like button, subscribe, and all that. I've never actually, if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it, but I got to the point where it was just a year ago, I was quite stunned. Just a year ago was 1,320 subscribers I had. Not that really bother counting them that much, but just 12 months later, I'm up to 1,330. It's just incredible how this has taken off. Maybe I didn't bother. I don't do it on Twitter. I only go into Twitter to abuse Twitter, not abuse Elon Musk or Donald Trump or something. I don't actually talk about Rangers or anything really in Twitter if I can possibly avoid it. So I don't really know about promotion or anything like that, but I think it's mostly the fact that I just talk far too long, and the risk. I like it being a bit cultish and all that. But like most cults, I want you to start kind of selling your house, and coming and staying in my farm, stay with me and just work purely to make money for me. The head of that cult. Folk usually say that's 1,320. Tongo, have you unsubscribed? Tongo, make up your mind, mate. You love me or you hate me. That's just pure badness. You heard me saying I was up to one, because 1,330. Tony Bloom, I just got some advice for Star Lizard in Jamestown Analytics, and Tony Bloom said 1330. That's the number. That's critical mass. Monetize then. The minute you hit 1330 subs, just monetize that, and you're golden. That'll be you. You'll be absolutely coining it in. And so thanks, Tongo. Thanks for nothing, mate. Just an ongoing war. We talking. But folk usually say, well, it's just to make the pod better. It's to improve. But if I can make some money out of it, a few adverts here and there, not too much of an inconvenience, is it? Aye, it's really annoying. I hate it when there's adverts on podcasts. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how annoying it is what I'm doing. But they'll say, oh, it's so we can get better equipment, get better stuff. It'll improve the. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do anything like that at all. I'm not going to do like a Tommy Robinson thing where I just go on holiday to exotic locations and snort it all up my nose. No, I'm going to consume the cocaine here in Glasgow, but when I go on holiday, it'll just be alcohol. It'll just be alcohol that I'm spending your money on, because some of them, if you get caught to the airport and stuff like that, getting through customs, I mean, serious jail time and really seriously scary jail. So I'm not going to be stupid enough to risk that. But I'll consume I will snort most of it up my nose, and then the rest was spent on rotisserie chicken and McCoy's. It's the steak grilled McCoy's, the flame grilled steak ones that I prefer. But that's the kind of, I'm not going to do anything to improve the podcast. I told the pods are going to get shorter. They're going to get less frequent. They're going to get more out of sync than ever. It's probably my mouth probably isn't moving at the same time. As I'm a total prostitute now. I've just become a total hour. And I just need to monetize the pod because there's money to be. I've got money. I mean, I'm fine. I don't have a lot of spending money. Spend a lot of my time doing this podcast. I know you wouldn't. That's my style. I make it look amateurish. It's like the iceberg. Most of the work's going on under the surface. Just make it look seamless. on the top. But it's time you started paying for that, you absolute mugs. I'm going to rip the absolute pish at it. I've got, so I don't need the money. It's not a charity case. I'm not quite financially secure. This is just making money purely for the sake of it, and that's what's going to happen with the pod. But I just thought I should tell you. The good thing is, so a few folk were complaining. One person, I think, complained about a 2-hour long pod. Most folk don't complain. They just. And sometimes you think, is it somebody from another Rangers podcast that hates me or something? That could just be somebody making it up or something like that. Not that we believe in conspiracy theories here, but I think that's fair enough. But it's also a fair point. A 2-hour long pod. Who wants to listen to that? You don't have to. You don't have to. It's just no. But now it means you can unsubscribe. It's actually going to hurt me. It's going to cost me money if you unsubscribe. So that's quite good. And also, if you're doing a 2-hour long pod, I don't know if is it mid-roll, mid-scroll? That means when you put adverts, you can set it up to have adverts in the middle of the pod. I really hate the ones, so I'm hoping I can do that as well. I find it really annoying when you watch like Rangers Review or something, and I think they time them. Derek will say something like, and we've just heard that Nico Raskin punched. And it's an advert for nappies or something like that. You go to wait for 2 minutes and it comes back to Nico Raskin punched a hole in the A4 paper and he couldn't get it into the ring binder because he punched 2 holes in it. It's that kind of, I think it's done deliberately. I think they can time it, they can place it. So that'd actually break up my pods because my voice is really grating, isn't it? It's really grating. It's already getting to you. It's monotone, really. You're thinking, I wish this guy would just stop talking in this exact same tone for so long with something. Well, an advert's going to come in and break that up, so it'd be quite kind of. It just makes the whole thing more kind of nasty and angry. And I just wanted to be upfront about that. Everything's for sale. Everything here is absolutely for sale. None of it is for the love of Rangers. None of it's out of any kind of compassion or sense of community to fellow Rangers supporters. It's just a total money-making exercise, and I am going to absolutely coin it in. So what's it say? International break. Close of the transfer window. We got away. It's the madness. We got 0-0 with Celtic. No good enough, but not as bad as a lot of us thought it was going to be either. And then turned out Nico Raskin didn't get sold. A few other things happened in the Monday transfer wise, but basically got away from it. And it feels like I was looking forward to this. The 2 weeks away for Rangers, a lot of people, I hate the international break. I don't. I think when you really care about Rangers, it gets so intense at times that you need a break. You need a break. Are you going to end up going to a podcast, wearing something really stupid in your head that's probably back to front or out of sync anyway? But it's not really a fresh start, was it? I think this is phase 2. I think we're entering phase 2. I mean, like, Igaman's away, Dessers is away. The one and only Kieran Dowell is not in the European squad. Things like that were real. Oh, they're going to stay. They're going to go. Why is he here at all? We're going to get him, and we get decent money. We get more money than I think that we expected to get for Dessers, and he left in fine style. A lovely fella. But we're not really sorry that he's gone because of his inability to score the number of chances we wanted him to, but also when he did leave, you really appreciated the goals that he did score. You get a new kind of perspective on that, hopefully. Igaman, we didn't get the money we thought we were going to get for Igaman, but he'd made it pretty obvious that he was going to be disrupting the dressing room. He's not the only one. He was working his ticket. Alexander Isak doing the same kind of things that Mark Guehi at Crystal Palace, or no longer at Crystal, but all that kind of stuff. It's just still had to. Thought he was leaving Crystal Palace, and then it didn't happen. But that kind of stuff is going on all over football just now. It's player power, but a lot of issues were sorted one way or another. It just feels like a fresh kind of start, but not so much. It's more like we're into phase 2. The manager's got the squad, or as close to he can manage to the squad he wants, and he needs to be in charge of it. And the only thing that's remaining, does Nico Raskin know his place? And he's certainly been told. He's certainly been told what his place is. That's stopping it being the fact that Nico Raskin is still here is stopping it being a completely clean start. It would say, or a completely refreshed kind of phase of the Russell Martin first season in charge. But it's pretty interesting, and I'm really looking forward to this tomorrow. It will feel a bit different, despite a desperation. It feels to me anyway, from maybe other podcasts, or definitely media people and a lot of Rangers supporters as well that it's still some sort of ongoing crisis or tragedy or whatever. I know we haven't won any of our first 4 league games. That's very unusual for Rangers. It's no good, but it seems to. I don't know. It's what I expected. It's very. We haven't lost any of our first 4 league games either. It was a massive change happening this summer at all levels of the club, and this was what it was supposed to look like. It was supposed to be a slow start. It was supposed to look like this. It was supposed to be a slow start under Russell Martin, and he seems to be fighting to control the dressing room and just get rid of any of the dead wood or the bad seeds or the bad influences that we, as a support, wanted rid of for years on end now. So I don't know. I'm quite happy and I'm quite looking forward to this. But the Nico Raskin thing, I will seriously get into it, troops, in this podcast. But how are you? Are you okay? It's Moneyball, Tony Bloom, Martin Ball. This is what we're up against tomorrow. People say he's been up against Russell Martin as much as we're up against Tony Bloom's Jambos. I can't help thinking that I know I can't tell you the name. I can't speak the name of the comedian that I love the most or that I enjoy the most. Because I'll be cancelled. By him. He will cancel me for speaking his name. But it's a guy I've seen live a couple of times, and it's my favourite comedian. And you know that I go to the theatre and I like a bit of opera, and I'll even watch movies with subtitles in them. I read newspapers that you go stretch them out like that, broad, just really broad. You go stretch them out like that. Newspapers that I read because I'm really clever and really cultured. I'm better than you, basically, and that's why you should pay me money to watch my podcasts. But that is to deny, the 2 times I have laughed the most in my life. 3 times, none of them were at my so-called favourite, pretentious comedian who anybody who says that they love him is just pretending they're as clever as him. So he takes a piss out of that. You know who I'm talking about. If you know, you know. But Billy Connolly, when he did that thing in STV, and it was mid-80s, an audience with Billy Connolly, that must have been mid-80s. So I'm only like kind of 15, 16-year-old, and I've watched it back since then, and it doesn't hit as hard as it did back then, but when it did hit, the first time I watched that, it's just, you're on the floor. It's a cultural, a moment in time, an iconic moment, certainly for Scotland, an audience with Billy Connolly. It was just, I'm not going to attempt to even repeat any of the jokes, but it was like, you're in pain. You're laughing, you're convulsing. It's beyond laughter. It's just, you're gone. You're completely gone. Your whole body. And I was only like 15, 16 then. It was painful then. The way it's hurting my ribs. There's also the time in my, well, in my 40s, I'd imagine. I can't remember exactly when Napoleon Dynamite, the film Napoleon Dynamite, when it came out. I went to see that. And I went back to the cinema to see it the next day, because it was to see it again, and it just didn't hit. And I've watched it a couple of times. I got the DVD and I've watched it 3 or 4 times since Napoleon Dynamite, and it's good and it is funny. But I've never, the first time I saw it, like the first kind of 20 minutes to half an hour of Napoleon Dynamite, I thought I was going to die, because I wasn't a young fella, that I was in my 40s or whatever, and I thought I was. My wife was with me, and she was thought it was funny, but she started soon, finding the fact that she was going to be sitting next to a guy having a massive heart attack. Not in any way funny. That took the edge off it for her. But God, yeah, that was really funny. But if I'm really honest, I'm cultured, I'm clever, and all that kind of thing, and you'd get mocked for saying this just now, but the hardest I've ever probably laughed, the most stunningly funny thing I've ever seen, was the first time just sitting watching it on telly. Same living room as I watched Mum and Dad's living room in Ardrossan. That's my living room at the time as well. I was staying with them. I must have been, 10, 11 years old, whatever it was. It was the first time I ever saw Cannon and Ball. Kind of rock on Tommy, like Cannon and Ball. Tommy Cannon, Bobby Ball. The first time I ever saw that, my gran was round. It was Friday night, so my gran was round. So, I mean, my dad would probably be Big David. They'd probably be the boozer, whatever. But it was just my gran and my mum in the living room. I don't seem to remember my sister being there, but I was there. And it's a sign that maybe how much I was spoiled as a kid, that my mum the telly was on. She'd sit and talk to my gran, but the TV was on, and it wasn't like we had a massive living room or anything like that. But mum and my gran are sitting talking, and I'm sitting watching the telly. And doing that thing as a kid, I'm sitting like on my bum on the floor, resting against the chair, the kind of armchair, right up close to the telly. And I think I think it was a live TV program, and they come on as live guests. It's probably early 80s, maybe 79, kind of 1980, 1981. And I'd never seen anything like this. This was like, folks slightly older than me would talk about the first time they saw the New York Dolls and the Old Grey Whistle Test. Whispering Bob Harris, Mock Rock, that kind of stuff. Roxy Music, Old Grey Whistle Tests. The first time I saw the Smiths on Top of the Pops, folks in Brazil 1970, when they barely used to colour television, and these guys come on and just show you how to play football from a different planet. Me seeing Brazil 82, I was just like, oh my God, what is this? It's just a real cultural moment. But this was unreal. Cannonball, phenomenal. My mum's looking at me going, what is wrong with you? And she sussed out I wasn't at it. I know sometimes when a kid, you're like, I'm really enjoying this. You're just kind of making a show of yourself. I was, again, the convulsed thing, like the ribs hurting, the tears running down my eyes. I'm just being shocked by how it felt kind of earthy and visceral, when you're a kid. And folk are like, Cannon and Ball, it was right, I'll rock on Tommy, for the next few, it became this kind of iconic of phrases, Frankie says, relax, within the next few years. So I looked up, and I was like, yeah, Cannon and Ball. And so I looked up on YouTube and I just put in Cannon and Ball's first TV appearance. That wasn't the first TV appearance. The first TV appearance was way before that. Mid-70s, before I'd even get any kind of consciousness. I was around then, but I'd be like 4 or 5 years old, and they were on the Wheel Tappers and Shunters. It was a Wheel Tappers and Shunters club. It was a working man's club type scenario, and different acts on an actual club. It was on STV, I think, late at night. I remember it as I can barely remember it. It's one of the things that you weren't allowed up late enough to watch. You would catch a bit of it when you got up for a pee and tried to get in the living room to see the telly. But they were on that, and I saw it's on YouTube. And within a couple of minutes, Bobby Ball's singing a song about not being able to get a house because of the Pakistanis and stuff like that. It was, it's look at Bobby Ball, Moneyball, Russell Martin Ball, data-driven models, and Tony Bloom is the European expert. I'd say look what he's done with Union St Gilloise. He's in Australia, obviously. Was it Sydney FC? He's kind of invested in them as well. Brighton Hove Albion is his most famous involvement, being owner of them. Brighton Hove Albion. Tony Bloom, the famous Brighton gambler. He's got his, what is it, Star Lizard. Now the Star Lizard, they're kind of advisory company to other companies or other betting companies. They help you with betting. And then you've got the Jamestown Analytics, which I think that's the company that he's got that helps football clubs, helps sporting. Gambling is a kind of sport, if you like. But the thing with you don't Cannonball, seeing them in the Wheel Tappers and Shunters clubs, nothing is just born in a vacuum. Everyone has to start somewhere and start slow and make a lot of mistakes. And those mistakes can bring about a lot of pain and a lot of embarrassment that you don't really want to look back on. We're at that stage just now. We've just been bought over by Kavanagh and Marath. They've officially bought us over, 3 months ago? It's really, really early days, and the level of hysteria, I think, going around mistakes that look. This is why we've got Emmy Fernandez for millions of pounds. This is why Nico Raskin might not fit in to our team just now. This is Moneyball. This is data-driven modelling. This is that kind of football. And we're at the very early stages of implementing this system, and it's a bit painful and it's a bit embarrassing. But we need to look at the minority owner of the club being involved, a minority share. Sorry, Tony Bloom, was it 25% or something like that? He's got in Hearts. We need to have a wee look at that and look at how well that has worked for the Jambos, or how well it's worked. Sorry, we don't know yet. But it's got them off to a good start. They're not in Europe though. They're not in Europe. They're not in the same stuff. And the expectation at Hearts isn't anywhere near what it is. Any kind of infrastructural change at Hearts is going to be a tenth of the size of the job that's got to be done at Rangers. So we're going to start slower if we're trying to strip it all back and do this thing properly. So I don't really get the exact levels of just hysteria. I feel as if it's hysteria, overreaction to how slowly we've started the season. We still get into the Europa League group stages, or the group stage. That was the main thing. And 6 points off the top, don't have a win yet. I haven't been beaten either domestically, so it's, I don't know. What did you got up to anyway, folks? How are you doing? Sorry, I haven't seen you, say, for like 7-9 days. No heard from you in a while. I mean, it always seems to be me who's making the effort, but never mind. I cut the grass. I cut the grass out the back, and I total genocide on the bees and the bees and the butterflies. It's just a tiny wee bit of grass. Go out the back. It was July. I went away in a proper kind of summer holiday in July. Went to Germany and come back home. I hadn't cut the grass before I left, but it just really sprouted up. But mostly like these kind of weeds that flower. They're kind of half weeds, half flowers. I wouldn't know how to do. I don't know very good with that kind of stuff. And the actual like dandelions, the stuff that you do know about. And I was just sitting there looking out the window, thinking, I'm going to go and just give that a quick once over with the lawnmower. I mean, it takes 2 minutes. Right? I noticed there was about 5-6 bumblebees or honeybees, whatever they are, dotting about the various flowers. Obviously, just like getting on board as much pollen or whatever it is they take as they possibly could. And then I need to leave it. You stayed previous places we stayed, I would do the whole thing of leaving some, if there's a wee kind of bit of weeds that was dandelions or whatever, I would cut round it and just leave it there so folk would know it wasn't laziness. Oh, the rest of his garden's tidy, he's got that wee scoot, that's obviously for the bees, what a nice guy. So I did that, I left that there, but I just get sick of looking at it the other day, and I thought, well, it's into September, and the minute I went right through it, the lawnmower, there was about 3-4 lovely big butterflies coming up, and I feel absolutely terrible about that. I changed the permit sticker in my brown bin. It's £50 to get them to come and take the sticker. It's September, it expires, so I had to go and I changed that, and I caught the purple bin. I think it was only once every 2 months, once every 3 months. The purple bin with the glass goes out, So I managed to get that. Sometimes I miss that, but I managed to get it out in time. And it's quite good because obviously I need to get rid of the jam jars and all that. I like to make my own preserves and stuff like that. So that was the only stuff that was in the bottle, the bottle bin. And I also had the most Scottish experience of my life. Went to Oban. Went to Dalriada, up there with the Gales. Don't go back to the same place. I've been to Berlin 4 times, but Berlin's it's a different city every time you go. Oban isn't different. It's not a city, and it's no. Well, it was. That's the thing. Actually, that applies because I went there last summer. For just a couple of nights, the Premier Inn, or whatever, I went out to Mull, went to Tobermory, never done that before, so that was a nice wee thing to do, just get at the end of the holidays, get just a couple of days up there, and it was great. It was buzzing. I'd been to Oban before, and I was a kid and as a young man, maybe for a day or something like that. I'd never stayed there before, and it was my wife's idea. I'm like, Mull, Tobermory, I don't know. I've been to Iona, a separate trip and stuff like that, but this was, I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going. You might remember me talking about the fish suppers, and the great thing about driving in, because we couldn't leave until my missus get back for her work in the Friday, so it was about 7:30, just back at 7, we actually drove into Oban. This time we went for a wee, self-catering, just a wee kind of flat, wee kind of apartment type scenario, just for a couple of nights, just to get away, just to change stuff up, because I was doing the podcasting, and it's just like, I'm going to make these folk pay for, I'm going to make the folk that watch the podcast, they're going to pay for holidays in the future. I'm going to start living it up. Driving through, open the main drag, about 7 o'clock, and you could see all the other chip shops. Not the one we went to last time. It was queued out onto the road. All the chip shops are like that. All totally queued out. And we're in Oban, and we go the street we're into. Turned out you can only park for 4 hours at a time. We go out there at tea time, so it expires at 6 o'clock at night. So we went for a pit in 4 hours. That gave us till it started at 8 o'clock until noon the next day. Could have a drink and all that night, but it was just supposed to use the Tesco that's across the road. You get a Tesco car park across the road. They said you can use that. You come to a deal with Tesco, but the fair was on, or the shows, as my wife's from the East Coast, the shows or the fair and stuff was on. It's on at 10 o'clock. It's taking up half the car park. Tesco, there was no car parking at Tesco. So this whole thing, we had to move the motor at certain times during the day. It was a bit of, in the street we drove into, it wasn't straight across the Tesco. There was like some sort of, I don't know, like an old dried up burn or something between us and the Tesco car park. And as I'm out to try, as we're driving the motor into the street, there's a couple of obviously heroin addicts off to get their heroin. That kind of total, man, I think that's, it's unfortunate for folk, but this is the street that we're going to be, and then we get to, have to go out and find a ticket for the motor to be parked and all that, to get the ticket set up for the next morning. And a fella comes to his door, he's only got one leg, and he's obviously on something, don't know if it's a drink or what, and he's kind of saying something about the shows. You got the show. I thought he was talking to somebody behind him in the close. It was like kind of close. So I just kind of just looked and then he was, oh, I'm sorry if I was bothering you. I turned around, it had been me he was talking to, and I'm like, oh mate, I don't know, I'll just keep moving, because even a guy in one leg could catch me, no bother. But I'm walking along the street, and that was it's a different place. But at night time, with the wee curtains across the big window in the wee apartment, big massive telly up on the wall, you're looking out across the Tesco car park. It's in a kind of valley, basically. You're looking across this wee kind of valley. And there's a houses on the other side, way up in the hill and stuff like that, and the lights, big Tesco lighting, and the light for the shows, and there's music blaring for the wains on the waltzers and stuff like that. It was like being in New York or Las Vegas or something. It was phenomenal. It was really quite atmospheric. Quite enjoyed it. But as I'm walking, before we're going to get a fish supper. I know Fish on a Friday, that's the kind of podcast I don't care. I don't care about that kind of stuff. I need to get a fish supper. So I went back to the fish and chips we'd been to last time because it was really good. And it was queued out again onto the street, but it wasn't as bad as that. So I'm in Oban. Scotland are about to kick off against Denmark. Scotland national team's playing, and we'll catch a bit of that and get back to the digs. It's getting a bit dark. Oban is about as Scottish as you get. You've seen folk taking heroin, folk taking drink. That's as Scottish as you get. And then walk past the guy. Oh, this is honest to God. Walk past the fella. He walked right past me. Have you ever seen the proper YouTube channel? Is it Scotland History Tours? The guy's called Bruce. Is it Bruce Fumey? I think it's Fummey. Bruce Fumey. I've only seen a few of the videos. If you want to look up anything about Scotland, Scottish history at all, and I'm terrible. My knowledge of Scottish history is awful. But it was him. He just walked right past us the street. I'm like, this is the most Scottish thing I've ever seen. Now, he does stuff about the buying the kilt and the Battle of Culloden, and great videos telling you the history of all kind of majorly Scottish things. And this is the most Scottish experience of my life until we get back up the roads, back to the digs, and it turned out that Scotland actually got a good result away from him, and it was phenomenal. That was pretty un-Scottish, but that. I hope you enjoyed the weekend away for Rangers as much as I did. Sorry, this is your it's my dinner with Andre of a podcast, really, isn't it? Just go on a bit in the long side, but I've got something major to say, and Nico Raskin played in 3.5. No, it was 4 games we had last season. We lost 4 in the trot at Ibrox. First time that's ever happened to us. I think I'm going to get serious. It's time to rip off the band-aid. Jesus Christ! I've got a big scab across my head. Those 4 games that we lost last season at Ibrox consecutively. Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup, the worst result probably in my lifetime watching Rangers. St Mirren in the league. Then it was Motherwell, then Hibs, or Hibs, then Motherwell. The other two were kind of. Nico Raskin played in 3.5 of them. He came on at half time in the Queen's Park game and it was still 0-0. And then he's played in the 3 games. Like, it's the idea that suddenly that he's a saviour, and he's the most talented player, I would say, arguably, in our squad. It's becoming an argument now. I think Gassam and Asgard obviously is capable of being a bit of a player. But he's definitely the most talented player we had last season. I've seen him being really good in individual games. I've seen him being rising to the occasion, dominating games. I expected him to leave before he even got a chance to shake hands or say hello to Russell Martin. I thought he'd be gone as soon as the summer transfer window opened because of his performances in the Europa League last season, particularly against Spurs at Ibrox. I thought that's going to attract the attention of the EPL. I think I said my post-match reaction to that. That's it. You can see he's away. We'll take 30 million. That'll be fine. But he's not. But I think he's part of what we want to kind of sort out at Rangers, what we want to, a kind of malaise that we want to get rid of. Let's not forget this. But he come on. He didn't play for Belgium against Liechtenstein when they beat Belgium 6-0. When Belgium beat Liechtenstein 6-0. But he then played in the next game of their international weekends, where he played the extended weekend where they beat Kazakhstan 6-0. And he come on, so he's playing wearing number 6 for Belgium, and he scores the third goal in a 6-0 win. He's been number 6. He missed a 6-0. He scores in a 6-0. It's a 6-6-6. He's obviously the root of all evil at Rangers. Nico Raskin. I'm not picking sides in this dispute, though. I'm not picking sides if it even is a dispute. I'm just saying that's something you can't really ignore. He's Satan. Asgard. Thelo Asgard, absolutely amazing, comes off the bench for Norway and scores 4 goals against Moldova. 11-1 win for Norway, we know. Erling Haaland scored 5 goals, and he gave the penalty for Asgard to get his hat trick. But that's really, I'm really chuffed about that, to see him just getting some goals under his belt as he comes back from a bit of an injury at the start of his career at Ibrox. Deeks Cornelius, oh my God. John Souttar played in Scotland, maybe more of a miracle. John Souttar played in the correct side, the right side in both senses of the term, of the central defence for Scotland. But involved in a Scotland team that starts its World Cup qualification campaign with 2 clean sheets away from home. Now, I know obviously Belarus had to play in Hungary because of the political situation, the fact that they're siding with scumbag Putin, but that's quite a thing for John Souttar. It's really good to see him involved in that. I watched a lot of the game in Copenhagen. I watched all of the game in Hungary against Belarus, but that's him going from a 0-0 versus Celtic to a 0-0 versus Kasper Schmeichel's other team, in Copenhagen, which could have been Nico Raskin's new team, to a game away against a side in maroon. Belarus playing in all maroon, and now he's going to play at home against a team in maroon who he used to play for. So it's quite a nice, smooth transition, an improvement probably in the form of John Souttar during the international break. And Deeks Cornelius was probably the best story of the lot, wearing number 13, the Gerd Muller number. I think he's wearing 13 for us as well, which was the Todd Cantwell number the last time anybody wore that. It's a Gerd Muller number. I don't think Gerd Muller scored. Did score. It wasn't just all poaching goals from Gerd Muller, but he did score some spectacular ones as well. But I don't know if he's ever scored a direct free kick the way Deeks Cornelius did. The only goal of the game against Wales in Swansea, the Liberty Stadium, the old Russell Martin stomping ground. Used to be the manager of Swansea City, did Russell Martin, and you can take the boy out of the Martin O'Neill team, but you cannot take the Martin O'Neill out of the boy. Craig Bellamy, raging against Canada, who fight it out regularly. The only fight that Canada get involved in the international stage, an actual battle, is with Switzerland, is to see who's the most peaceful country on the planet. I mean, they're hard as nails, the Canadians. I've been to Canada. I've seen them play ice hockey. I mean, that's what proper hard folk know. Life's hard. You should enjoy any chance you get to chill. They don't want to go looking for battles and stuff like that outside. But I pick Craig Bellamy. Absolutely sensational start to his Rangers career. Deeks Cornelius beating Craig Bellamy's team by a 0-0. Him scoring the only goal of the game. Centre half on loan from Olympic Marseille. What a free kick it was, curling it right over the wall. Borna Barisic, I think we all agreed it was very, very Borna Barisic. Absolute belter into the top corner, only goal of the game, and of course Craig Bellamy, as Martin O'Neill used to do, had to find a reason to make it about something else. The CMNT, I'm a motherfucking CMNT. It's the Canadian men's national team. They were celebrating before the final whistle. I hope we get a World Cup. I hope we get. Oh, nobody's thinking about. No, my pain means more than your victory. Unsporting, anti-sport bastards. That shower, O'Neill and all his little acolytes, Sutton, Lennon, they were all shits when it came to that kind of stuff. They absolutely hated football. If they couldn't win at it, show me a good loser, or show you a loser. Shut up, grow up. Just destroy it if they can't win at it. A cancer in the game, that kind of attitude. So it was lovely to see Deeks Cornelius go in there and shut them up. Really, really enjoyed that. But Cannonball show latterly. I think he's dead now, isn't he, Bobby Ball? but he used to the alcoholism, there but for the grace of God. I am probably an alcoholic, a binge drinker. You think that's a form of alcoholism, but. Bobby Ball, I think, real hard time with the booze and what have you, and Tommy Cannon, instead of dumping him, helped him get through that, helped his mate, and they formed a real close bond, as you would as a double act. But sometimes these guys drive each other mental. But they would end their act latterly. I remember reading this with Tommy Cannon, Bobby would kind of lie on the ground as if to represent the struggles he'd been through and how it drained him and how on his knees he was as a human being at times, and then Tommy would lift him up. This is the end of the act, and I think they would sing "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother," and he would, or "Wind Beneath My Wings." I think it's "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother," and he would lift him off the stage. That would be, it was quite heavy duty, quite the start, literally heavy duty. I mean, the start of that kind of self-revelatory, personal life kind of comedy show, which is actually more of a bit of theatre. But that's what he used to do. And I don't know, is Nico Raskin, is he a brother? He ain't heavy, he's my brother, the manager said today in his 9 a.m. pre-match press conference, in which he looked a bit rough, it has to be said, at Russell Martin, but he said that Nico Raskin has to win back the trust of his teammates, like anybody does, if they've pissed off the team or whether they've been indisciplined or whatever, and do his teammates, who, as to be said, we weren't great against Celtic, but it's definitely the best domestic performance so far in this short season under Russell Martin. They did better without Nico Raskin in the stadium. So is he too heavy for his teammates to carry, or does he enjoy too much? It's so redolent of Barry Ferguson with Paul Le Guen. Does he enjoy looking like he's having to carry the team? Nico Raskin, it's something we're going to have to find out. Other news, Leon King, he's away to air the honest men, despite the fact Scott Brown's in charge. I don't like to get that, but that's good for Leon King. He's away there on loan. I don't think we're going to see him playing for Rangers again, Leon King. Xander Hutton, right back, he's away to Hamilton Accies on loan, so kind of reserve right back. So it's good for them, good for the boys to get away and get some football. We also got fined, is it 18,000 quid, 20,000 euros? I don't know the exact amount. It's basically, I could probably pay it, by the end of this, the time this pod goes out and you've all got the money I'll make off this pod, I could probably pay it for Rangers, and I would pay it because it's, it's a 2-year suspend. It's a 1-match suspension. 1 match we don't get tickets in it for our away game. It's just, I think the sentence is suspended for 2 years. So if there's any pyro, it's the pyro. That's the problem. The pyro that I thought was quite impressive in Bruges when we came out to the tunnel, and then we get beat 6-0. It's a Nico Raskin thing. Nico Raskin comes on at half time, and it's a 6-0 thing when it comes to Nico Raskin. All the sixes there, and that was the red fire of hell. I don't know. It's in Bruges, in his country anyway. But the pyro in Bruges, it's terrible that we've got this hanging over us. We've also got a suspension of, I think, the Copeland Road stand hanging over as well because of the Defend Europe thing that's become all the rage amongst angry young men and angry old men these days. But it's bad, a bad situation for the club. I think the situation here is, I can't be a hypocrite about it. I can't say that I don't enjoy the pyro. I think it does look really good. Obviously, it's a bit dangerous, and I'm not going to these away games. I've never been right in. I've been a few times right in amongst it, but it creates a great atmosphere. So we need to find. I don't think some sort of vaping alternative. When folks say, "Oh, I'm no smoker, I'm vaping," that's different. It's still a pain in the arse. Maybe there's a way of getting around that when it comes to the pyro. A similar way getting around it at all. I'm thinking Chinese dragons. The Chinese New Year. I mean, remember one time at Ibrox they had at the Chinese New Year. They had a display at half time. It's fantastic. The people coming out and they do that thing with it's the big dragon. It's actually people inside the dragon. I was getting told at the time, so I was shitting myself. I'm monster come down the tunnel. It's your 40th, mate. But they do the thing where they've got fire. It's like fire coming out their mouth. The dragons, but it's all cloth, and it's like white, way overlaid with kind of orange and red and yellow, and it looks like the dragon is breathing fire. And you get these things outside, like certain shops, maybe abroad. It's like a kind of hairdryer that's blown up the way, and it's got the cloth, red cloth, yellow cloth, white and it's blown up so it looks like flames. Maybe get something like that. Get that kind of thing. or just really bright flags. Just everybody get a really bright wee flag that you can put down your jukes, if you can't take it off you, they think it's your scants. Or just all wear red, white and blue boxer shorts and whip them out and just burrow them around for the game starts. So it looks bright, it looks colourful. There's other ways of creating an atmosphere here. There's no extreme reaction for me. I'm just in arbitration. Us. Let's find a kind of a mutually acceptable solution. It's reminding me. It's making me think. I was thinking this the other day. How can we still create the same amount of colour without having to use the pyro? And it took I should have brought it. It's just too out of reach. I don't know what I got, but I've got my old bar scarf that I've talked about extensively on one of my fascinating podcasts, the red, white and blue bar scarf. Let's get red, white and blue tassels. There's only one other guy out there who's got the same one. And I got that in the late 70s from my gran, and it was like you can, or my nana, my maternal gran, who's Catholic. I should always mention that. But we used to do a thing, and we're playing the Jambos tomorrow, and I don't know what they called it. We stole it for Hearts, or we copied it off of Hearts. And I remember going through to Tynecastle when I was in my kind of mid-teens, early teens, mid-teens. First few times went through to Tynecastle, and so it would be kind of early to mid-80s. When it was the old Tynecastle at the terracing, that bit in the corner. You've got the actual shed kind of covered bit, and then it would be terracing bit that was round the corner, swept round at the school end. And it's opposite you if you're on the Gorgie Road, and it's they would start doing this thing where they'd all wear their scarves, they'd burrow their scarves in the air, and it's when Hearts, 99% of Hearts fans, I think it's still the same. It's always been a kind of unique thing about Hibs and Hearts, but the Edinburgh teams, they would their scarves, just the block scarves. They don't really do bar scarves. If they do, it stands out, it doesn't look as good, but they used to all, even into the mid-80s and that, they would all have just the maroon, white, right? Old school scarves, even though they're made brand new, an old school design. I think it's still much the case, and it's impressive, and it's nice colour maroon, and they used to burrow this around the maroon, around the top of their heads, and we'd all sing, let's all do I don't know, was it the old Reekie Snow Globe, or the Capital Blizzards, or something like that, the Jambos Blizzards, or something like that, the maroon kind of mincing machinations of materials that are at Scotland's Capital Snow Globe, the old Reekie wrist rinse. So I don't know what they called it, but it was really good. It really caught you. That's good. And we would all go, oh, what the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? Next week at Ibrox, just start seeing a few front of the court one down the enclosure. Oh, burrow the scarves round. Kind of pirouetting the scarves above their head. And when it was the old bar scarves, the Rangers bar scarves, the red, white and blue, looks fantastic. Actually, it was quite eye-catching. Maybe we started doing it as a response. It's a response we've been looking for years. Celtic come to Ibrox when they got the whole of the Broomland Road stand and the enclosure. I don't know if it was still when they had the wee bit in the main stand. Sorry, half the enclosure. They had the west enclosure, whole Broomland Road stand. I don't know if it was still the time when they used to get a bit of the Govan. There wasn't a lot when they would get a bit of the Govan stand as well, the top and bottom of the Govan. I don't think it was that time. It's a bit later than that. But they would always do You'll Never Walk Alone. And I think it used to be a Rangers song, You'll Never Walk Alone. Or we first adopted it from Liverpool, but it was just too mawkish for Celtic sports to let it go, and we eventually just let them have it. That is definitely suited to use. But as a boy, he used to sit next to me, a season ticket, he used to go, it is impressive, isn't it? When they do You'll Never Walk Alone, they all get the scarves, all I'll never walk on. You know, but we started as a response. So we still haven't devised a proper response to the Celtic huddle either. Everybody walking about just kind of shaking hands and turning their back on it. And we did at one point, the players went up to the stand. Went up to the stand even nearest the full of Rangers supporters at Ibrox, and they would go, right, come on, and it wasn't very good. It was a bit naff, a bit cheesy, but just ignore it as far as I'm concerned. But this was a response to Celtic doing, because we didn't want to do a flag waving thing, but this is my era. I know there'd been stuff with it's a song we'd kind of slowed down that was about politics or prescribed paramilitary organisations and monarchs and religious leaders and that kind of thing. But we would sing it kind of slowly, but while everybody would start burling their scarves, like the rest of the stadium, all the home sections at Ibrox would all be burling, and it was mostly red, white, and blue bar scarves. It really, even a sunny day, it looked really bright. It really, really eye catching. So we should try. Anyway, it's Hearts. We're playing Hearts tomorrow. I think that's pretty much everything covered for the news, other news items. We willed Hearts through their dark days when Hearts bad financial times. No newspaper puns intended before Anne Budge took over. I was really worried for Hearts. We applauded them in the park at Parkhead in '98 when they won the Scottish Cup, beat us in the Scottish Cup final. Walter's last game of that period, his first spell in charge of Rangers. And we were quite happy to see Hearts win it. Well, obviously we wanted to win the thing, but applauded them around the pitch. They won the Scottish Cup for the first time in a few decades. We cheered their wins. I remember cheering Hearts' wins in Europe, standing in the enclosure at Ibrox, and it got announced over the tannoy that Hearts had a European game, and they were winning at half time, or they'd won it full time. It was full time, it was earlier because they were away from home or something like that than our game. And they'd be, hey, nice one, well done, the Jambos thing. And then they started singing that song when the Rangers died and the Hearts survived. And I think, fuck them, get them pumped tomorrow. Get them pumped again. They're title challengers again. Hearts, that's good. Anytime they come to Ibrox and they think they've got a chance of winning the title, they think they've got a chance of doing something, that's usually when we completely open them up. Derek McInnes is the manager of the month for August. Fantastic. That's always a bit of a jinx as well. But that's because Hearts are joint top of the league with Celtic, only behind Celtic on goal difference in second place. They've, is it 2 draws and 2? No, but it's 10 points. So they've won 3 games and they've drawn 1. They were 3-0 down to Motherwell at home. And that's the game they drew. They come back to 3 each. A couple of late winners, injury time winners against Dundee United at Tannadice and against Livingston. The last league out 2 weeks ago, Livingston, they scored an injury time winner against them. So they're definitely off to a good start. And Derek McInnes, as we know, is a man who knows how to beat Rangers, various ways to beat Rangers, knows how to set a team out. So it's McInnes ball as much as anything else we're up against. They get put out of the League Cup by St Mirren on penalties in Paisley the same day, or the same weekend anyway, that we were beating Alloa. We've won a domestic game this season. We were beating Alloa in the League Cup last 16. They were getting put out by St Mirren, so they don't play for another fortnight after this game tomorrow, the Jambos. I'm hoping that's a bad thing for them. They feel kind of isolated in this game. They can't really get into their season at all just now. They're not in Europe. That's the one thing. They're not in Europe. That's definitely helped them, I would say. In the start of the season, we've had to deal with massive, 3 massive European ties, 6 massive European games. Hearts have had the League Cup group stage to play, but not quite the same. Playing Stirling Albion, not quite the same as playing Panathinaikos and Bruges and Victoria Pilsenia. Tomorrow they're going to be missing this chap Aguiu, the new Brazilian record signing. Was it 1.75 million or something they spent on him from the Portuguese league. They've got 3 decent goalies on the go now. Craig Gordon, of course, it's Ray Clements and Peter Shilton type scenario with Alan McGregor and Craig Gordon. Craig Gordon's one of the finest goalkeepers I've ever seen, playing for Scotland and playing in Scottish football. A phenomenal goalkeeper, into his 40s now, but he's been injured, but he's back training apparently. I don't know if he's ready to go tomorrow, but they've also got Xander Clark, who knows about beating Rangers at Ibrox, even if it is just on penalties, helping St Johnstone score an equaliser in a Scottish Cup match. And some chap, I don't know if he is actually German, but he's on loan from Union Berlin. I think he's a Union Berlin reserve goalkeeper, so he'll know what he's doing. So they've got that. Like Craig Halkett is back playing at centre back for them regularly after a lot of injuries. He's done his damage before, as has Lauren Shankland up front for the Jambos. He certainly knows how to score against us. Done it at Tynecastle, done it at Hampden, done it at Ibrox. A player that we always thought we'd sign, but we got Miovski instead, so that'll do. But they definitely are. Also, was it Frankie Kent, our centre half or defender? He's injured for this one as well. They've got a few players missing, but I think they'll definitely still have enough to be very, very dangerous. Hearts, if we're not on it. Tony Bloom, I keep talking about Tony Bloom. He's not he's a minority He's got minority holding, is it 25% or something like that? Maybe that's not minority holding. Obviously, I don't understand business. Although I'll have to know the tax I'm going to have to pay on the money that I'll be making now that I've got the adverts on this podcast. But he's, I think he's a bit like Chic. You know, when you get the Chic effect, the Chic production team. You know, you get Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards in there, and they'll maybe play in the backing music, or they'll just produce the track, or one of the two of them. I know Bernard Edwards is dead now, but that if you're Duran Duran, you're Diana Ross, suddenly bang, you've got a guaranteed hit because they're involved in it. Tony Bloom, what Derby Union St Gilles was in Belgium, they hadn't won the league since I think the 1930s. It's pretty much Hearts. Was it 1960? Hearts were last champions of Scotland. So Tony Bloom is saying that it should be within the decade or within 10 years that Hearts are going to be champions again, with Rangers and Celtic both struggling. Oh my God, how Celtic... If you want to get up in arms about Rangers, what's happening at Rangers just now, at the start of a new regime, I'm actually getting Celtic stuff sent to me. This whole thing of, I don't understand why Celtic fans want to come on here after when we beat Celtic, and I can't remember us doing it. We did it quite a few times last season. When we beat Celtic, that's not the first place I want to. I don't want to go and listen to Celtic fans greeting about it or moaning about it or telling us it didn't really count or whatever. I just want to enjoy, everybody in Rangers land being happy. But I totally, if anybody wants to, as long as folk are nice and all that, and they just come on for the chat and all that, and understand folk, we kind of have the same kind of outlook in life despite supporting different football teams. We're just born to support a certain team. Nobody ever changes their mind about what team they support. It's not. It's not a kind of political difference or anything like that. But I couldn't avoid the Celtic stuff the other week. The Celtic state of mind stuff. It was on Sky, or was it the BBC or something, and it was getting put into my feed, my algorithm. I don't get a lot of Celtic stuff coming up on my YouTube or my Twitter or whatever, unless it's Rangers fans retweeting it on Blue Sky, and just it's hard to get another person on Blue Sky. So, but the Celtic boys, it's the IKEA, the things I've got there. They're called Billy. I call them Billy boys. They're Billy units, the shelving units. It's IKEA. It's Billy. So he's surrounded by all Billy boys behind him. I don't know why he wants to do that. He's not got as many books as me either, but maybe he's read the ones he does have. Behind them, but my God, they just want to protest, and they're going to get they've one league title. They've missed out on one league title out of the last 15, and they're getting ready to riot. Same as us. It's just this. If you look at that stuff, if you look at the complaints, obviously they've got complaints. We all should have, but it's that going straight to DEFCON 1. The first time you don't. I'm going to say this again. I've said it a few times before. There's a thing in Italian football. Is it Niels Leotold? I think it first happened with the great Swedish Milan player for AC Milan in the 40s and 50s, and he made a mistake in a game, and it led to a goal for the opposition. And the whole of the San Siro got up and gave him a standing ovation because it was the first mistake he'd made in like 5 years. And I thought the Celtic won 4 successive trebles. And then the first thing they didn't win, the first competition in Scotland that they couldn't win for 5 straight seasons, they get put out of the League Cup by Ross County on a Sunday night. They're outside, the Celtic fans are chasing their team down the street, throwing stuff at the team bus, fighting the police and stuff. That's no concern or a legitimate protest, that's just... It's not even entitlement, it's beyond that. It's just insane, it's insulting. And it makes you think, who do you actually support? And you get the same problem as well. I think I actually saw a Hearts supporter retweeting the Celtic supporter stuff about, right, we need to take action against the clubs, starve them of money, don't buy the European package, don't buy stuff in the concourses, drinks or pies and like that, just bring your own grub. The guy's like, you don't support your team, you just support success. There comes a point you just got to support. So, they're in a really bad way. We're creating the same we've got the same kind of hysterics going on round about us just now. Not quite the same level, but we've got the new owners that we wanted, and anyway. So no wonder Hearts think that if they can get themselves organised, they can get in there. They've got a chance of winning that league title. I've seen it all with Hearts. Except winning the league in the League Cup. Bloom only has got that minority shares, but maybe it's like the chic effect. He can just get folk going because of what he did at Union St Gilles. That could be the equivalent. I think actually winning the league with Hearts in Scotland is easier than winning the Belgian title with Union St Gilles, and that isn't even his main focus. His main focus is Brighton and Hove Albion, who he got into Europe for the first time, and they set up in England because they couldn't quite get high enough to get into the Champions League. That's a few seasons ago. I think they were one of the best teams in Europe. Brighton and Hove Albion, they just couldn't quite, and it's De Zerbi went on to be manager of Marseille, and he has been the manager of a chap that will be playing for us tomorrow, hopefully, Deeks Cornelius. But I have seen Hearts coming out and beating us at Ibrox, and the first league encounter with Rangers of a season, and it was 11 years ago. And we equalised late on, and they went up the park and scored again, and they beat us, and they did win the league. They did win the league. It was the championship. It was the next level. It was just what they won in 1960 as well, but it was the championship had since become the second tier of Scottish football. What a day that was! It was the last time Hearts won at Ibrox. They haven't beaten us in the last 18 meetings. But that day, remember it. I think we were shooting towards the Celtic end in the second half, which is always unusual as well, shooting towards the Broomloan. But Danny Wilson, who would come back, a former Ranger who would come back to Rangers, he scores against us early in the second half. And then it gets into injury time. We're getting beat 1-0. Right at the start of injury time, towards the end of injury time, towards the end of normal time, they announce the man of the match. The sponsor's man of the match is Nicky Law. And the whole place laughed. The whole place guffawed. Huh, he's been shit. You know what I mean? The Rangers are getting beat as we get into injury time, get beat at home. Hearts were this was us trying to get promoted the first season under Ali, 2014-15 season this would be, and Hearts have come out there and they're beating us, and then just at that Nicky Law equalised, and I remember the Cammy Fraser incident against St Mirren in the 80s, but Nicky Law felt Hearts sorry for him. He just turned around and he just like, fuck it. He's like, I get it up, he's not to us, Rooney's laughing at me for getting the Man of the Match award just for the sponsors, you know. And so it was like, oh, haha, Nicky Law. Oh God, that's embarrassing. Sorry, Nicky Law. And you got to be careful, reap what you sow. And so went up straight back up the park and put Hearts in the lead again, deep into injury time. But a minute after Nicky Law had scored, and we get beat 2-1. It was just, that was sod's law. It was awful. It was a terrible day at the start of what would be a terrible season. Hearts won the championship, and we were really struggling against them. But that's the last time Hearts kind of had the upper hand on us. Put us at the Scottish Cup, of course, under Steven Gerrard, but that was a year later. We were cruising to the title. It was a real kind of salient moment for Steven Gerrard's Rangers. One we should bear in mind. He also lost the following league game midweek to Hamilton Accies at Ibrox. And where are they now? Where are the Hamilton Accies now? They're taking our youth players on loan. They're also at their thing with Cumbernauld. They've swapped with It's a really strange situation. But that's it. We've had it's been great. Hearts have been our feel-good club. Hearts have been our wee kind of boost that we need all the time. We get beat off Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup. When Queen's Park put us out the Scottish Cup last season, the most horrific defeat probably of my lifetime. Certainly the one I was at. Just numbing, absolutely numbing. The following week, we went to Tynecastle. Half of the country is thinking, why is Philip Clement still in charge of Rangers? And we won 3-1. Hearts were much better than us, people were saying, but we still went to Tynecastle and won. The following week, St Mirren beat us at Ibrox, and that's him. Philip Clement is sacked. But just in between times, he still managed to go to Tynecastle and win. So there's a slight worry that this is all going to change, that their ability to always get a result against Hearts is going to change tomorrow, and we really don't need that. We haven't won a league game. We haven't won a league game. We're in line to equal Alec McLeish's record from 20 years ago, just under 20 years ago, of going 6 consecutive league games without him. And that's Sunderland. Barry Ferguson, the game at Easter Road at the end of last season. If we didn't win tomorrow, it'd be 5 league games at the start of a season. Add that on at 6, and we haven't gone that amount of league games consecutively without a win since Alec McLeish 20 years ago, and I was at most of them as well. But if we can win this and spin it with all the kind of speed that I spin the brown bin round to so the permit is facing out onto the road, so the Glasgow Sanitation Department employees, heroes to a man and women, can see at a glance that I'm ripe for the picking. If we can spin it into unbeaten domestically, suddenly it'll be Rangers have won a game and also they're unbeaten domestically. Slowly it could become we're on a roll, you know. We're using data analytics too. Thus Emi Fernandez, thus Nico Raskin only being of use if he does what he's being told. I've convinced myself that the slowness of the start to the season, the slowness of the start to Russell Martin's reign as head coach, will be reflected in the largeness of the rewards at the end of the Russell Martin project. Nico Raskin might think he's going to outlast. He's going to be here longer than Russell Martin's going to be here, and Nico Raskin still, even while saying that, he's still intending to leave in January, and maybe that'll be reward enough for Nico Raskin. Maybe that's why he's quite happy to come back. He thinks he's going to last longer than the manager. But tomorrow, I really need a win. I could do with seeing Rangers registering a league victory. We've been told that Russell Martin would take a while to get us going. So far, so true, because it's only been a transfer addled with 8 weeks or so. All the kind of at Rangers you don't get time riposts, they're kind of, I don't know, I feel that kind of pretentious and almost a bit, I don't know, childish, but it's really, really simplistic stuff. It's not even a truism. It's 45 years since we've won a title. If we win a title this season, it'll be 5 years without the Premiership title. It's 3 major trophies in 14 years for Rangers. Ibrox is sold out though. We are patient. Whether we like it or not, there is no choice. You desert your club. Your club gets weak. I think we're just howling just now because it hurts. Every week we're howling about something because it just hurts to be waiting so long when you're such a massive club to get back amongst the trophies. But that's the way it's been. It's a concentration of power in football. It's become more concentrated, more monopolising. With the arrival of the Champions League, drip down effect, and you get Bayern Munich winning. What is it? I mean, the Bundesliga is one of the toughest leagues in the world, and Bayern, who are always well represented in terms of winning titles, over there have won 11 of the last 12 Bundesliga titles or something. It's absolutely ridiculous over there. Juventus were getting up for 10 in a row, obviously in Serie A, which is one of the first time anybody's won the English title more than 3 in a row. Man City, just the season before last. So it's the situation just now is you can be as close as you like, you're not winning it, but it doesn't mean we're not close. We're not as best placed as we can be. It's just hurting to not actually be amongst the trophies. I also base my faith in Russell Martin, which is actually a mild kind of conviction that we're not near the sacking stage yet. It's not that I'm 100% confident that Russell Martin can do a job at Rangers. It just feels it doesn't feel as if we're really at the sacking stage yet, that things are that bad. The theory that what we've seen so far is a kind of adumbration. It's a sketch. It's a rough draft. We need to see a few splashes of colour and depth now. Not perfection. I'm not upset. I'm not worried about what we've seen or what we haven't seen so far. But now we're back from the international break. We're back from 2 weeks of the transfer window being shut. He's still got the Nico Raskin thing ticking away there in the background. But I feel as if I can explain away everything that's happened so far under Russell Martin. But we need to start getting wins on the board in the league if he's to be allowed to continue. It's just clear progress, i.e. 3 points, scoring more goals than we concede in a league game. That'll do for now. You watch Moneyball, the film, it was on Netflix a while ago, and I started trying to watch it again, but it's been taken off Netflix. You've got to pay for it now if you want to watch. I pay extra to watch Moneyball. But it's the Oakland A's. They don't win the World Series under Brad Pitt. What's the guy's name? Is it Billy Bean? Something Bean anyway. But that would be the equal of us reaching the Champions League final. Its ideas were laughed out of town. The Oakland A's, the kind of stats-based stuff was laughed out of town. And I say this is lots of folk are laughing at the signing of Emi Fernandez and getting rid of Igaman, getting rid of Nico, or trying to get rid of Nico Raskin. Nico Raskin can be as talented as he likes. If he doesn't do what he's told, is the equivalent of an own goal or an early red card. Perhaps worse, individualism is dead these days. At the top end of football, you've got to be that cog if you're a player. Or I'll just sign for Wolves already. The international break has really boosted us. Deeks Cornelius, that goal against Wales, and Asgard has 4 goals against Moldova. I think Asgard, we saw him. He's tactical now. His ability to do the dirty stuff, his willingness to do the dirty stuff and do what he's told, no matter what role he's given, unlike some players. We saw that in the game against Celtic. He's been struggling for fitness, obviously, the game against St Mirren. But he did well against Celtic without being spectacular, and then he's gone out and he's shown the other side of his game against Moldova for Norway, and he's scored 4 flipping goals. John Souttar playing an unbreached Scotland defence at right centre half. It's been good, the international break, and you add to that the aforementioned kind of flexibility of the manager's formations. He was talking about this in his press conference today, Russell Martin, how we because we've got Cornelius who can play left centre half, that gives us a bit of flexibility. We can perhaps go 3 at the back. We went 3 at the back against St Mirren in the second half. We went 4-2-3-1 against Celtic, which was, I think, nobody's really expecting that. So it's this idea that he's painfully, detrimentally wedded to a system, Russell Martin. It isn't true. He's wedded to a particular concept. He said that himself, but it can be played out in different ways. Left centre half, Deeks Cornelius comes in and lets us play 3 centre halves if we want to. And the rest of the pitch could be a kind of creativity hub. And if you've got the 3 centre halves, the passing about between the centre halves that we hate so much in August and July, watching Russell Martin's Rangers, that becomes, there's different ways they pass the ball. There's different combinations there, and it gives you more of a base of creativity. Which, if you've got your 2 sixes sitting in front of that, they can guard it, and they can both guard that, the central defence, and they can take the ball off them and distribute it easier round about the park. Makes us safer. Long balls over the top. We don't have a lot of pace. Cornelius isn't the fastest in the world, apparently. There was a Marseille fan was talking about this on the Rangers review. But, and we've seen, Giga having to cover for John Souttar with long balls over the top. But if you've got the 3 of them there to play 3 centre halves at the back, what I'm trying to tell you basically is that I want us to go. I wouldn't be surprised if we went 3-4-1-2 tomorrow. I've thought about it and I've thought about it. The final score is going to be 3-1. We're going to win 3-1. That's the final score tomorrow. But Jack Butland in goals, I'm going to go with Souttar at the right side of the central defence, or playing right centre half, Giga in the middle, and Cornelius at left centre half. I've Diamandi and Barron as a kind of sitting 2. Asgard in a kind of 10 position behind Majowski and Chermiti. I mean, maybe the manager mentioning today that we could play 2 up front means that he's no gone. It's a little bit of kind of fake mind games. He's playing a bit of a fake there, but a play action fakes. That's the phrase you're trying to get at. But it could be a double bluff. I don't know. I'm just talking mostly about what I would like to see, and that leaves the only problem with going 3 centre halves is I always worry is it actual. Who you play basically as your wing backs? Is it an actual defender or is it a midfielder? Is it a winger? And I'm going to go with a mix of that. I would have Tav on the right hand side and Gassam on the left hand side. Tav, or maybe the manager's going to be bold enough to go with Ant-Man instead of Tav. I don't. He's probably going to go with the 4-2-3-1 again that he played against Celtic. But I would like to see us go 3-4-1-2. Souttar, Giga, and Cornelius playing, and try to work out what to do in front of that. I would have Tav, Dio, Barron, and Gassam as your 4. Asgard is the 1 behind Majowski and Chermiti. Go for it. Just get into them. Hearts are going to come at us. They're going to. Maybe not. Maybe Derek McInnes is going to do what he used to do, particularly with Aberdeen when he came to Ibrox, and just sit in, frustrate us, and hit us on the break. But I feel as if our squad has actually got real depth now. And versus Celtic, Majowski, he looked absolutely the business. He's mobile, he's strong, street smart. I'm excited. He's very experienced as well. I'm excited about the squad. So into all this, though, we have the Nico Raskin controversy, the Nico Raskin variable, the Nico Raskin bombshell, the Nico Raskin furore. He's our most talented individuals, I've seen, but I've seen him dominate big games. But he's not a team player, and he's not reliable. He's not the kind of guy when you need a hero like against Queen's Park or all those the second half against Queen's Park and the full 90 minutes against St Mirren, Motherwell, and Hibs in successive games at Ibrox. We lost a lot of them. He featured in all of those games. He played 3.5 of them basically. So he's clearly the most talented player we have just now, but he's been talking to other clubs. I don't know if he. Obviously, it seems he's obviously disruptive in the dressing room. It's not Russell Martin being oversensitive. I think he's a hard bugger, Russell Martin. He's suddenly a fan favourite, I feel, Nico Raskin, because a lot of those fans, so many of our fans, most of our fans, it would seem, really dislike Russell Martin. It seemed like Nico Raskin was leaving. He said there's stuff to be sorted out at Rangers before he returns. When he was talking to, I'm always dubious when it comes to our players or foreign players doing interviews with foreign magazines, mistranslations or whatever. Can be used to stoke up a situation that so many in the media clearly want to stoke up. They clearly want this to be a massive deal when it just seems like a standard case of a manager disciplining a wayward player, for me anyway. But it didn't sound like he's feeling very remorseful or humble. The situation at Ibrox was complicated as far as he was concerned, but he was also saying that he was definitely going to stay at Rangers. He wanted to play for Rangers. Is that only after he found out he couldn't get to Wolves, he couldn't get to Copenhagen? I don't know the rumours, I don't know the details of that kind of stuff, but it doesn't sound like he's feeling very remorseful or humble. He wasn't at Ibrox at all for the Old Firm game, and he's the one he has to bow down and get his head down. A kowtow, whatever, just forelock, tug, all the stuff that involves bending down. As far as I'm concerned, he's got to show humility and work his way back into the team. And I think it will only take one game. He has to be dropped for tomorrow. Irrespective of how talks went with the manager, who's more of a manager than ever, Russell Martin. It's so funny at the beginning of the season. I'm constantly have to remind myself it's a head coach, not manager. Head coach, not manager. That's now on 21 minutes, Jesus. And he's just, it's like he's been forced into being a Rangers manager. He's been compared with Rangers managers. Can you be Bill Struth? Can you be, who's more an actor manager, Bill Struth? But can you be Willie Waddle, Walter Smith, whatever, Jock Wallace? Can you do all that, the discipline stuff? Have you got the kind of heft, the personality, the strength to take all this on? And I think he seems to be constantly demonstrating that he's trying to drop hints as to why, what's going on behind the scenes, because a barrage of criticism, a barrage of questions about why it's not going according to plan, and I think it is going according to plan. And he's dealing with that, and he's trying to make sure that he's the boss. I don't see why he's been held up as weak, because but if he's had these talks with Nico Raskin, which he glossed over today. He just made it like we've been hearing there's talks, there's going to be a showdown between Nico Raskin and Russell Martin, and he's just, it's just, you have to have chats with all the players, you have to talk to all the players. This is just something we've talked about, and he's going to have to get himself back into the team, but he's available he's training and all that. He's not training away for the squad or anything. He's not been completely sent to Siberia or Coventry, but he's going to have to work his way back into the team. I'd like to see him dropped. I wanted to see Nico Raskin dropped if he's anything other than 100% on board. The sudden decision amongst fans that Russell Martin is weak for being a disciplinarian shows where we are on this. It's complete factionalism amongst the support. The dictum about the manager needing to rule the dressing room is being kind of hypocritically and I think conveniently forgotten by a lot of blue noses. If Raskin plays well as an up yours to the coach, then that's fine. If he can do it until January when he's sold, we need him all in or just gone, ditched. Nico Raskin. Right now, I feel like one of the kind of newspaper men on the payroll, the Corleones, trying to get all the sleaze on Captain McCluskey, so suddenly not doing him in. Oh, look, it's suddenly more understandable. But I just think about what would be best for the family if we can't get Nico knuckling down 100%. That's the perfect solution. Then he's kind of Fredo-like dalliance with disloyalty. You don't talk to a guy like that. You don't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that. It's the sign that we must get rid before, they're shooting us where our wife sleeps and where our children come and play with their toys. Because, like it or not, Raskin is absolutely part of whatever malaise it was that we, as a support, wanted rid of before he was even signed, before he was even at the club. Great in big games, absent in middling games. We're supposed to be building a consistency machine here. Walter Smith get the same kind of earache from me as well. Actually, when he was considering re-signing Kenny Miller, remember that? He was the first time Kenny Miller come back to the club, the second period at the club, the first time Walter brought him back to the club, the first time that he returned. Kenny Miller would be his second spell, and this was in a period when we were, overachieving. Basically, we were winning 2 trophies a season, 2 major trophies a season, but Kenny Miller comes back because Walter Smith just ignored it. No, sitting at the Scottish Cup final, you can shove your Kenny Miller up your arse. He played for Celtic. But Walter ignored it because he knew him. He knew best. And now Russell Martin. And Russell Martin's no Walter Smith, no, know yet anyway. But if he lets us, the supporters, guide him in his decision making, he's not going to see the end of September. Never mind getting over a decade in charge over 2 different periods and winning the trophies that Walter did. Maybe it is the wrong move, to get rid of Nico Raskin, but I want to know what Russell Martin's style is. I want to see his management style and his ethos in every situation of a Rangers season before we make a final decision on him. This guy's got to go, this guy's got to stay. Well, we don't really know yet because he's so busy fighting battles in the dressing room with people who, clearly think they're bigger than the manager. It's probably just a kind of 1-game punishment for Nico Raskin anyway, so everybody knows who's boss. And we've lost plenty of games and dropped plenty of points with Nico Raskin in the team before anyone starts kind of claiming Russell Martin is cutting his nose off to spite his face against Hearts tomorrow. If Raskin walks straight back into the side, all discipline is gone, all respect for Russell Martin in the dressing room is gone, and Raskin is the one guy we know is definitely leaving. I mean, he's been negotiating a move away all bloody summer. Maybe he doesn't want to leave and he's got his head turned by agents. I'd like to know more about that, about how much Nico Raskin actually wants to leave. But yes, he needs to play so we can maximise a return on him. Yes, that foreign news outlet said his situation at Ibrox was complicated, but it is because of him. It's complicated. I don't really care about his Belgium career other than how much it improves his game while he's playing at Rangers and how much it improves his value while he's at Rangers. But if he wants to play for Belgium, he has to be playing for Rangers, so he has to toe the line. I just Russell Martin. Everybody wants Russell Martin gone, it seems just now. I don't think that's the case at all. The louder element amongst the support that's that the people who farm engagement, podcasts and that kind of go along with the knee-jerk reaction all the time. They try to suss out how the more hot-headed fans are feeling all the time. And I feel that's wrong. What you should do is a 1 3/4 hour podcast just talking about your holiday in Oban. That's what the fans want. That's what they'll pay for. We have to win tomorrow. Defeat is unthinkable. Well, that's I'm hearing a lot of that just now, and it's not the same thing, is it? It's not the same. It doesn't add up. We don't have defeat is unthinkable. We could draw again, and even another draw wouldn't really enrage me. Martin's shown basic strength. The kind of minimum cojones required to manage Rangers. I wouldn't believe he was the man for us if he'd done anything other than leave Raskin out of the squad in his first game back after Raskin wasn't even at Ibrox for the Old Firm game. I don't know what happened there either. Was that did the club tell him to get out of Ibrox, or does Nico Raskin think he was away negotiating a deal to leave Rangers? He's got to earn the trust of his other teammates again, said the manager today, said Russell Martin today, and that's a hell of a statement to make, but it's also a good way of just putting him back in the team as opposed to being a heavyweight, a rival manager almost. Nico Raskin, it's just like he's a team player. He's got to get back into the team. His teammates have got to want him, and I think it's also saying that if Raskin doesn't do what he's told, and it disrupts the whole team. It's Russell Martin is the guy who's supposed to be here for 2-3 years. Nico Raskin is going to go in January or at the end of next season. So I'm going to put my money on Russell Martin. I want to see what Russell Martin can do. We know what Nico Raskin can do. We just don't see him doing it often enough. If you're raging and ready to riot as you have been, it was Celtic are going to score an early goal, we're going to go mental, and then now it's almost like we need to invent something else. I mean, the Nico Raskin thing is it's eye catching. You wouldn't be much of a Rangers supporter if it wasn't intriguing you, but that's what it is for me. If you're pissed off and kind of, if you're doing all this stuff about, we need to riot here, we need to get rid of Russell Martin, and this starts getting really personal, and it's like Martin's gaslighting us, and he hates Rangers. What? That's absolutely insane. You've been radicalised online, as per. That's the online world is bad for that. But if you're pissed off watching dull games and vastly incomplete Rangers performances, well, join the club. I'm the same. But if you're not intrigued by what's going on here, and if you don't know this is a long-term project, which necessarily involves short-term pain in exchange for eventual dominance, the kind of dominance we had under Walter Smith, in individual games and across the whole of Scottish football, then you're just being kind of petty, maybe even spoiled, but completely self-indulgent with your moods. That's kind of hate speech off which I can make a proper living on the podcast. And you're just being petty if you think that. Russell Martin definitely looked rougher today, but why wouldn't he just resign rather than going through? If he doesn't want to be at Rangers, maybe because it was an earlier press conference than usual, 9 o'clock in the morning apparently. Who of us doesn't look a bit rougher? We have to get up earlier in the morning. Maybe he's got a bit of the flu that's going a bit a cold or something like that. But he definitely looked like maybe it's getting to him, or he's doing the old thing that Alan McCoy's talking about Walter Smith. He arrived looking like Sacha Distel and he left looking like Steve Martin. Maybe it's a bit of that. But tomorrow we're kind of, oh my God, I can't believe Raskin's not in the squad. FC, after being, oh my God, the Celtic score early, will riot. FC. Last time out, I think the personal attacks on Russell Martin are a desperate sign of the kind of online need to be angry. It's a rage farm, social media, and a rage at Russell Martin. And you get me getting angry at folk for being angry. So this is how it works, It bears kind of little resemblance to objective assessment of not just what's going on at Ibrox with the squad, what's going on at Auchenhowie with the squad, but of our own kind of complaints or stated desires and ambitions as a support. We want players who are all in every game. Raskin doesn't even want to be here, and it's a known pain in the ass with coaches. But I mean, we heard Neil McCann talking about it in the Sky's coverage of the Celtic game, the Old Firm game a couple of weeks ago, talking about how the arguments they had to have with Nico Raskin had to convince him all the time that what they were telling him was the right thing to do and all that. So it doesn't seem to me that Russell Martin's a problem. But I also have to look at my own history of backing Paul Le Guen over Barry Ferguson, and Barry Ferguson, of course, Walter Smith eventually get rid of him because Walter knew better. He saw it before probably even he did the thing against Barry, gave the Vickies to everybody in the Jumbotrons. I was at that game. I'm in North Stand at Hampden. We're playing Iceland that night. And he's giving it all that. And I'm like, I fucking supported you. The whole thing with Paul Le Guen and knew this as well. So he had to go, and I'm glad he come back and managed us and got a good win over Celtic and a cracking European win. Barry in his time back, so that we could all get on again. Because he's the best Rangers midfielder from Scotland that I have ever seen. Although David Cooper's a midfielder, that's technically a midfielder. You know what I mean? It's a nice position on the park. But Le Guen went, Le Guen had to go, and Barry stayed. So maybe that's happening again. Maybe I'm just not reading the room correctly at all. Maybe this is going to... But if he's signing his own death warrant, as people are kind of saying today, Russell Martin, why would he just resign? Why would he? Is it because he wants paid? He doesn't want to. If he just gets sacked, then they have to give him a payoff. I don't know. I feel as if all that stuff's kind of getting out of hand. Let's say we're going to riot a couple of weeks ago, Celtic scored early in the game, but they didn't score at all, and Nico Raskin wasn't in the stand, not even in the stadium that day. So, okay, maybe that's why Rangers didn't win the Old Firm derby, but the idea that we were better off with Nico Raskin on the pitch than in the stand holds kind of zero water if he's undermining the manager and his teammates have to cover for his tactical indiscipline on the pitch. The aphorism I'm kind of hearing in my tiny mind right now, and that's what I think it is. I think that people say these things because they sound kind of aphoristic, they sound slick, they're good one-liners. As somebody who likes to do a 2-hour podcast, I'm not really taken in by that kind of stuff, but the aphorism I am hearing in my head right now is you have to win the physical battle before you can play football. And I think this is what Russell Martin is doing. It's a metaphor for what Russell Martin is doing in the dressing room culture. Him and Thelwell and Stewart and the owners are at war. And everybody, if you're online just now, you've got to be at war with something. It's a culture war. Everybody's at war, civil war, whatever. They're at war with this culture in the dressing room, which I think they all diagnosed as being the reason Rangers weren't winning the league. They could beat Celtic home and away when they come up against them. They could go further in Europe than Celtic, but they can't seem to quite get anywhere near them when it comes to winning the league title. What is that all about? And I think they've diagnosed the problem straight away, and that's why Russell Martin in there heavy and strong straight after his first league game of the season ended in a draw. It was only a draw. I mean, it's, obviously the supporter are really unhappy, whatever they maybe played, etc. But if he was just a spin merchant or whatever, well, maybe I suppose he would set about his players to blame it all on them. But I think it was locked and loaded. They had that kind of had that round in the chamber, or however you want to phrase it, because it's war. Long before that result actually happened, he's been ready to go for the certain players that he knows are the problem, and it just seems to me that Nico Raskin is one of the problems. Seems too good to let him go. If he's holding the team back, then no, he absolutely isn't. But the ideal solution, don't get me wrong, is that Russell Martin wins Nico Raskin's respect, or he gets through to him. Nico Raskin takes his medicine because he needs to be seen to be getting medicined. Which hopefully Rangers win tomorrow, hopefully without Nico Raskin. Hopefully we're beating Hibs, next Saturday night, and Nico Raskin can come on, as a substitute, maybe even for the whole second half, and then he starts in the game against Genk, and it's all kind of that's the way these things so often play out. That's the kind of situation that I see happening just now, whereas everybody has just got it's binary, everything's binary. And everybody's a hero or a villain, and you can't have two heroes in the same team. We've been doing this for years. But no, I'm kind of backing Russell Martin in this one. I feel we should back the right horse. I'm hoping that Russell Martin is the right horse. The guy who's supposed to be here for 2 or 3 years, whereas Nico Raskin. I don't know if Nico Raskin. I find it hard to believe that he wanted to stay at Rangers that badly. Surely he was wanting to go even to France or something like that. I don't know what kind of offers he was getting. Certainly down to the English Premier League. You'd have to wonder about him if he wasn't wanting to go down there for much better money and a much better stage to play on regularly. If someone who's not Barry Ferguson, who's not Scottish, has fallen in love with Rangers that hard that they really just want to be here, you've got to hope that at the age he is, he's not taking on kind of notions of becoming player manager and kicking Russell Martin out. The ideal solution is that Nico Raskin takes his medicine and starts playing how he's supposed to play, where he's told to play for Russell Martin, and we get the two to get the best out the two of them. But I said, go 3 at the back. We're going to win 3-1, and I will talk to you for 5 minutes. I'll try and cut these pods. I keep promising it, but it's been another massive trauma, hasn't it? And I should do more pods. I'm going to do more pods of smaller size, smaller length. Particularly when there's always another trauma around the corner. I have a funny feeling we might be just getting to a stage where we're so used to trauma, we just want to have trauma. Folk are just reacting to each other. Nico, he's what? He's not getting. You seem to be raging. The pheromones are telling me that I should be raging. I'm raging as well. I don't even know why. I'm sure I was slagging Raskin last season for disappearing in so many games that we need to be. Russell Martin, he's a vegan. What's he got against fish? I don't know. It just seems a bit much just now. But I hope it all gets sorted out, and the way that gets sorted out is the way everything at Ibrox always gets sorted out. Rangers winning. I'll talk to you for 5 minutes. after the game tomorrow, troops. Cheers.